Governor Polis signs into law what may be the toughest gun control regulations in state history.
Under that new law that takes effect next year, it's illegal to buy, sell, and make most semi-automatic firearms without background checks and training.
Sean, Polis received a lot of pressure to veto this bill.
Colorado's congressional members, Republican congressional members, among those lobbying the governor, Michael, they say the new law is unconstitutional. Supporters say it's common sense and will make Colorado safer for everyone.
We have been able to add to the safety of each and every Coloradan.
For Senator Tom Sullivan, the new law is a shining light in a long, dark journey that began when his son Alex was murdered in the Aurora Theater shooting.
My family made the decision that we would not be silent or indivisible. We would speak out and be present for all those who have been impacted by the public health crisis that is gun violence.
He's helped pass nearly 24 gun laws, although not as far as Sullivan wanted. The original version banned so-called assault weapons. Governor Polis negotiated several amendments, including an exemption for those who agreed to an extensive vetting process.
We can make sure that people who choose to buy guns, first of all, are able to choose the gun they want, but also that they're properly trained.
But the new law limits who qualifies for training. Individuals would need to pass a background check and receive an eligibility card from their county sheriff, who could deny it if they believed the person was a danger. Those eligible for training would need to pass a 12-hour course certified by Colorado Parks and Wildlife, unless they have hunter's training. And then it would be 4 hours. Their names would go into a state database, allowing them to purchase a gun after passing another background check.
There is more to do, and I will always be at least that one who will stand up and be heard when it comes to taking action against the public health crisis that is gun violence.
Colorado could be the first test for Pam Bondi's new Second Amendment task force. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below if you like channel, like content, what I do here. You can support me with the link. Everything is appreciated. Once again, online store is open. Another great way to support me and get some cool gear. Right now, CGB20 gets you 20% off, free shipping. Connecticut residents, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay tax. I have no control over that. That's what we get for voting for these people. So CGB20 gets you 20% off on the online store. Take advantage of that. Let's talk about this. And if you remember, I've done two stories across the board. One is the establishment of the Second Amendment Task Force by Pam Bondi, which she announced very clearly. And two, Colorado passing the most restrictive gun control laws in the country at this point in time. Well, what they're calling an unprecedented move, Republican lawmakers have penned a letter to Pam Bondi to bring that Second Amendment task force to Colorado in response to the signing of Senate Bill 25-003, which was signed on April 10th and goes into effect August of 2026. This, as they said, is going to be a test of whether Pam Bondi is serious and if the Second Amendment Task Force is actually going to be effective or just fluff. Let me bring you into here. Colorado House Republicans call on A.G. Bondi to defend Second Amendment rights. In an unprecedented move, Republican elected officials in the Colorado State House have signed a letter to U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi calling on her to conduct a federal review of a controversial new law restricting semi-automatic firearms. Okay, we know this is the bill that was signed, 25-003, which was signed on April 10th, and is the most restrictive gun control measure in the state's history, potentially in the country's history. The law is set to go into effect on August 2026. It requires Coloradans looking to buy these firearms to undergo 12 hours of safety training, pass a background check, and obtain approval from their county sheriff. Furthermore, rapid-fire trigger devices such as bump stocks are immediately banned, which of course flies in the face of Bruin and Heller, actually. Heller too, if I'm going to be exact. But Republicans in the Colorado House have fiercely opposed the law at every turn, describing it as one of the most extreme in the nation in their April 14th letter to Bondi. 22 GOP representatives signed a letter to Attorney General Bondi urging the Department of Justice's new Second Amendment Enforcement Task Force review the law's constitutionality. They argue the measurement infringes on Second Amendment rights, clearly, and puts law-abiding citizens at risk in a state already grappling with the new reality of rising crime. Well, the anti-gun people need the rising crime, because every time there's a gun crime, they can use it as emotional fodder to push these things through. Just as a representative there, if I remember his name correctly, Sullivan, used his son's death at the Aurora, Colorado theater shooting to push through gun control that has nothing to do with what actually happened that day. So it's not unusual, once again, for these people to use gun violence as a tool to push through laws that have nothing to do with the actual criminal use of firearms. But, quote, because of the unconstitutionality as well as the imminent risk posed by Coloradans by eliminating the right to firearms as a means for self-defense, it is our belief that the passage of SB 25-003 constitutes an emergency for our state and calls for federal intervention, House Republicans wrote in a letter to Bondi. Republicans in both chambers of the General Assembly believe this recent passed bill could put the right to bear arms at the mercy of individuals who lust for greater state power over the people's private affairs. So that's the Democrat Party in general. But if we allow the government to redefine rights as privileges, which I argue this bill does, then we place our freedoms at the mercy of those in power, says State Minority Leader Paul Lunding. Weld County Sheriff Steve Reams and other law enforcement officials have joined the call, vowing to pursue every legal avenue to overturn the law. See, there's a difference. Sheriffs, there's a huge difference between a police chief and a sheriff. Police chiefs are appointed by the mayors and other government entities, whereas sheriffs are elected by the people. That's why sheriffs tend to go with the people and their rights and not the power of the mayor. That's the biggest difference between the two. But I'm going to come down to here with a solid Democrat trifecta, where Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the governorship in Colorado. It will be difficult for Republicans to implement meaningful changes on gun-related issues. Ultimately, they will have to use litigation or call on federal intervention to resist further anti-gun restrictions and restore gun rights. Okay, let me come on out. Like I said, this now puts the ball in Attorney General Bondi's court. If she's serious about the Second Amendment Task Force in conjunction with President Trump's executive order on gun rights, this is going to be the test. Colorado is a good place to start. I would like to see them expand further and go after New York and Illinois and Connecticut and Massachusetts and Oregon and Washington State and California, and go after every single one of these states who have stepped on the throats of good people while ignoring the criminal behavior of others, because they are soft on crime yet hard on the law abiding. And it's a bizarre, backwards ideal, but that's just how they do things. But this is going to be the test. If Pam Bondi does not respond, it just shows that this whole Second Amendment Task Force is a bunch of crap and had no intentions of doing anything. And if she steps up and puts this thing to full weight and puts pressure on Colorado, I'm all for it. I hope they do it across the board. But there it is. Let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I am going to see you on the next one. Peace.